Hi, welcome to Conversations with Kindy. Today Nell and I are going to be talking to you about our assessment and reporting schedule and processes and basically what to expect this year and what it looks like when your child's here, and basically how we assess and gather information and report that back to you. What I'll do is I'll start with the one you're probably on watching right now or have been, and that would be our Facebook group. We use our Facebook group to share information, to make our learning visible, and you would probably see if you come into Kindy staff often having, I've got the big iPad, we've got iPad minis, we've also got smartphones that we use. We're not on them sending messages to our children working out what we're having for dinner. We're actually doing lots of documenting, recording, taking photos to use in a whole range of different ways. I've had a few people ask me about Facebook, and obviously everyone loves the fact that you can be away from Kindy and still experience Kindy in a way, albeit through a screen. But we just want you to know that we try our best to upload photos for you as they happen, but quite often that's not possible. The Facebook and our documentation happens in those moments that we can, but we won't not interact with a child or engage in the program when the program needs us to make sure that we do this. That's our first priority. So often in park play, you will see that there'll be lots of photos because the children actually don't want us near them, or if they are, we're kind of a part of a group, whereas there are other times that are far more intense initially that we can't document till perhaps later at night or in the afternoon.
And we need to let you know that some days there'll be no photos because either we haven't had a chance to upload them during the day, or we go home, we get busy that night, we're out. It just doesn't happen. So
that's exactly right. We try our best.
Please think of the photos as being a gift.
Yeah.
We don't always get there, and
we try our best, and we really value it. But in the same breath, we also value the human interaction that we have, and the fact that we have to give our program and those relationships a priority. So also. Please try your best to not compare groups to say that, I noticed that there were lots of photos in that group but not that group. We try our best to cater to the needs of each group and what their needs are. Just know if there's not many photos, perhaps we had a very busy day, and we'll do our best to upload some when we can. Sometimes they can even be way later, and it may be another topic or interest that sparks something that we then will upload them. But we take probably 10 times the photos than actually get up here anyway, and there's a whole range of ways that you'll get them, and this is leads us to what we're going to talk about next.
So these are the children's learning journey books. These are really special to our kids. Special to us. My own 3 children that have been through Kindy, they all still have these books. They all still adore them and look at them and remember their Kindy year. So these books will be coming home. Please, please, please look after them and bring them back safely to us, because they're such an important way of us documenting your child's year at Kindy. So just to give you a bit of a idea of what will be in them, because they will be going home later on this week. At the start, there will be an All About Me page, and that's something for you to do as a bit of homework at home with your child. It's entirely up to you how this looks. This might have family photos, it might be a drawing, it might be some scribing about your child and their family, what they like doing, their favourite colour. It's really up to the child what this looks like. In here we also have some details about the framework that we use when we're reporting and assessing at Kindy. And that just gives you a little bit of a snapshot of some of the ways that we collect information about your child. And then depending on which group your child's in, there will be a list of all of the children and their photos in each group. And that's so that you can be having those conversations at home when you say, oh, who'd you play with? Oh yeah, I made a friend. And sometimes at this age, children have trouble remembering names. They're all just getting to know one another. So they can point out their friends as well. And then we've actually put in a little bit of information about each staff member, just so that you can get to know us as well. So they're in there, and because there's quite a few of us, this goes on for quite a while. And then you'll find that each child will have either my first day or my first week with some photos of what they've been doing. And then we'll start moving into things like learning stories, work samples, things like that. Each child's book will look different because it is individual to that child. So some children might end up with lots of photos in there, some children might end up with lots of drawings, paintings. It really just depends on what your child's accessing at Kindy, what they're valuing. Some stories will be very, very detailed. Others will be a photo with a bit of scribing, and that tends to be about what the interaction has been about, how many of them we've done that day, how many photos have been taken that day. There will be some that will be very generic, so for instance excursions, there'll be a couple of group photos and a bit of a write-up of the excursion. There'll be some that will be small groups, so it might be 6 kids involved in an activity. There will be some that might be unique to 2 books because it's about 2 children and their friendship. And then there'll be some that will be unique to each child. So, yeah. It's
a collaborative document, and we really want you to know that. So in this, this belongs to your child, it belongs to you. We get the privilege to work and add to it over the year. But we, like Nell mentioned previously, we really do need you to look after this, and we want to send it home, and we will be doing that at the end of the term, and we're also going to send it home soon so you can contribute to it. But we need it back because without it, it's impossible for us to access and children to reflect. So our children will, and particularly as the term goes on and the year goes on, they love getting these at quiet times, rest times, just during the day, reading, choosing a story. They'll come and choose their learning journey book, and they will use it to reflect and remember when they first started Kindy, and then reflect on the skills that that they've developed or the friendships that they've built. So it really is a powerful document that that does need to stay here, but please access it. That's why we have them over near the couch. They're housed. If you can put the camera over there, they're housed at the moment just near here, and we will have their name on the spine, and a picture of a frog or a bug indicating what group that they're in. So they're a really powerful form of documentation that I know you will and your child will cherish forever, and far richer than a written report that just says that a child's interested in this and tried their hardest and this needs to work on this. This tells a story. Also great for school, for sending to school, and we use them as part of our transition process.
And although we've said they'll go home each term, please, if you've got, family coming from interstate, grannies coming to stay the night, whatever, feel free to take these home. We just need them back.
Yeah. We're going to actually start up a bookmark borrowing system, just as you would in the library, with a barcode scanner where you would be able to scan them in and out. Well, that's not in action yet. We're just working on upgrading our systems, but that will be underway within the term. So when they're ready to go home at the end of this term, we'll ensure that we'll be able to scan them, but also then keep track of them so we don't lose them.
So, introduce this week our Kindy journals. This is a great way for the kids to be exploring literacy at Kindy. So, all of our lovely emergent writing happening, and kids will do different things in here. At the moment, my group are loving cutting out photos of themselves and sticking, so there'll be lots of photos of them being stuck in. These are the children's own work, so there is very few bits in here that are teacher directed. Occasionally we will scribe for a child if they want us to scribe for them, but yeah, these kind of look very different for each individual child.
Yeah, it's a great way for our children to write for a purpose, draw for a purpose,
and they do love them.
Keep them collated together, and again be able to use them and reflect. And it will tell a story, albeit you may have to try to work out the progression over time, because it's not chronological at all. No. Children will access pages as they go, but again, it will certainly tell a literacy developmental story within that, and we love them, and we started them a few years ago.
And they get tucked in. They get tucked in there at the end of the year, and they go home as well. If you find them in bags before that, can you please send them back?
They live
because we're very precious about them.
They're one of our tools.
We all love them.
We also at Bush Kindy, but we'll talk to you more about that when we do a Bush Kindy one. Our children will have a Bush Kindy journal stubborn or which far more sturdier, and children take out to the bush with them and use to document their thinking and learning. So I just thought I'd really quickly just go through what assessment and reporting will look like for your child this year. So we've explained that we have the learning journey books go home. They go home each term with a whole lot of different examples of learning, learning stories, learning snippets, work samples, photos, etc. So they'll go home at the end of each term. At the end of this term also we will have put in basically a belonging statement, a term 1 review of what we noticed about your child as we've got to know them this term, and also some of the things that maybe are strengths and challenges. Next term, we will seek feedback from that review that we send home, and we'll use that feedback that you provide and also what we know about the child and listening to the child, and together we'll develop an individual learning plan with some goals that we would like to work on together throughout the rest of your child's kindy time. They're broad goals, and they're not the only goals that we work on, but they're generally social, emotional, and they may be about challenge or stretch, and particularly pursuing interests. So that goes home in term 2, and term 3 we continue to send home the learning journey books, but then we start coming together and start thinking about transition, and together we're going to create a transition to school statement with your voice strongly a part of that. What do we want the school to know about your child as a learner? What do we want the school to know about your child as a learner? And together we create a really powerful document that goes with your child when they start their transition visits, not when they start school. And that's why we're doing that in term 3, because term 4 the transition visits start. At the end of your child's kindy year, they'll get a summative report. They'll get a USB with all of the photos that we've taken, put on there as well, for you to have and use and print off. So again, all the photos that we've taken and didn't get put on Facebook. So yeah, a statement, and also they will have that beautiful learning journey book that will be a keepsake forever. So,
and the summative report is really about the journey that your child has had at kindy, the distance that we've seen them travel in that time,
and a summary
the
of
things
their
we've
time.
Absolutely adored about them being at kindy as well, isn't it? It's kind of,
it is. It doesn't sit alone. It sits with all of this other documentation, and that's what we really want you to know, that there's no one piece of documentation that's more powerful than the other, that all sit together to try and share what is unique and amazing about your child as a learner. So enjoy.